If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and open up to Ephesians chapter 1. It says, Paul, an apostle of Messiah Yeshua by the will of God, to the saints who are in Ephesus and are faithful in Messiah Yeshua, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Yeshua the Messiah. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Yeshua the Messiah, who has blessed us in Messiah with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places, even as he chose us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and blameless before him. In love he predestined us for adoption to himself as sons through Yeshua the Messiah, according to the purpose of his will, to the praise of his glorious grace with which he has blessed us in the Beloved. In him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of our trespasses, according to the riches of his grace, which he lavished upon us in all wisdom and insight, making known to us the mystery of his will, according to his purpose, which he set forth in Messiah, as a plan for the fullness of time to unite all things in him, things in heaven and things on earth. Paul is a confident guy. He's not prideful, but he's confident. He knows who he is. Paul, an apostle, right here in verse 1, he's an apostle of Yeshua the Messiah by the will of God. And that's where our confidence comes from, is knowing it's by the will of God. If we were to read, I'm not going to do it right now, but I'll capsulize it. If we were to read Galatians, first couple chapters there, we see Paul is confident. I'm an apostle. I've received the calling to proclaim the gospel not through men or by men, but directly from God. And he talks about, he makes a point in Galatians, I did not receive this through men. I received this through God. And yes, I did go up to Jerusalem at a point and consort with some of the other apostles, but my calling is in God, through God, of God, by God. And if you read Acts chapter 9, where he gets knocked down on the ground, he becomes blind, he goes from one extreme to the other. Zealous against Yeshua and Yeshua's people, to an extremely zealous for Yeshua and Yeshua's people by the will of God. I think sometimes in our spirituality we get things a little backwards, and we think it's by our will. My spirituality is by my will. Why am I spiritually alive or dead? Because of my will, this way or that way. I think if we understand that God's will is for us to be in Messiah, if you were to go through here and we were to mark down all the time, circle all the times where it says in Messiah or in the Beloved, talking about Yeshua, or in him, all of these blessings are in Messiah. Verse 3, he's blessed us in Messiah. Verse 4, he chose us in him, meaning in Messiah. Okay, verse 5, we're adopted as sons and daughters through Yeshua the Messiah. Okay, verse 6, he has blessed us in the Beloved, talking about Messiah. In him, the Messiah, we have redemption through his blood to forgive. In Messiah, in Messiah, in Messiah, nowhere else. And this is God's will, that you be in Messiah. This is God's will, that you be receiving all of these blessings. This is God's will, that you know who you are, that you have confidence in the Lord, that you go forward in the blessings of the Lord. This is God's will. It is not according to our will. Paul doesn't say, I was made an apostle because I trained really hard and I really wanted the job and people saw I had strengths. And so they laid hands on me and they said, you shall be an apostle. He doesn't say any of that. He says, by the will of God. Our spirituality depends on us, not because it's our will and not God's, but it depends on us to the extent that we allow God's will to take place in our lives. You have the Lord has allowed you and me to have if we want to reject His will, we have the power to reject His will for us. I mean, obviously, there's big category things that we have no control over, right? God gave us our DNA. There's nothing we can do about some things that are God's will. But as far as our calling, as far as our spirituality, there's nothing lacking on God's part. Okay? Rebecca, did you write these words up here?
No, that's not my handwriting.
Okay. So I don't think it's a coincidence then that you chose a song that apparently April at school was also teaching on the same topic, right? Asking, nice. Searching or seeking, and knocking. Okay? This is God's will. Okay? Now the asking, seeking, and knocking doesn't mean that I make it God's will, because I'm asking so much, God finally relents and says, all right, I'll let you be in Messiah, I'll give you some blessings. It's not like that, right? This morning, I had to apologize to some people because I let something come out of my mouth that was not from a good place. And there's no excuse for it, okay? I could make excuses. I'm tired, struggling with a cold, this and that. When I make those excuses, when you and I make those excuses, I don't think we understand how devastating that is to our spirituality. Because what we do when we make excuses, well, I'm not in the will of God right now, but I have a good reason because of my family weighing down on me, or my finances, or my health, or I'm just not there right now. And we make excuses. What we're doing is we're saying the foundation of my spirituality is what I'm ascribing to the excuses. Let me put it this way. A building has a foundation. Okay? A building has a foundation. A building is secure or not secure based on its foundation. There are other factors, I get that. It's not a perfect parallel, but follow me. The building is strong based on its foundation. If the building could speak and say, well, I'm creaky and I'm starting to crumble, it's the foundation's fault, then it is betraying, it's revealing what its foundation is. This is my foundation. The rest of me is weak because my foundation is weak. I'm weak today because I'm struggling with a cold. I'm not spiritual today because my job is out of whack, or my family's out of whack, or I'm just going through a dark time. Whatever the case may be, as soon as you start speaking those things, you're revealing what you are viewing as your foundation. But if we get it in our heads that I am in Messiah, He is my foundation. It is God's will that I'm in Messiah. It is God's will that I receive all of the blessings available to me. And there are many mentioned here in Ephesians. If I understand what my foundation is, that it's Messiah, then it doesn't matter that I have a cold or not, because that's not what my spirituality is based on. My spirituality is based on Messiah, and if Messiah is who He says He is, I never have a reason or an excuse for a poor spirituality. I'm going to say the same thing with a totally different picture. I'm going to go back to the picture of John chapter 15 and abiding in the vine. Okay? So if a branch, if the vine is healthy, the branch should be healthy. If the branch is not healthy, it means it's not attached. Or it's attached to too much. Trying to draw in strength from various areas. And I think that is our spiritual issue by and large. That, hey sweetheart, that we, come here. Oh, you know what? I have a cold. I shouldn't do that. I love you. Sorry. All right. So I think that our spiritual issue is not that we are like totally detached from God. I think that we truly love, and by us, I'm talking about the Western body of Messiah, the people I interact with, and you and I as well. Let's be humble and let's receive this, because there's always growth in this. I think our spiritual issue is not that we're not attached to the vine, but that we are not only attached to the vine. That we're attached to different things. That's why he says, every branch in me that bears fruit, he prunes, or he cleanses, or he takes off those other attachments that don't belong there. So that your only attachment is in the vine, and then your blessings overflow, your spirituality overflows. So it's the same message, two different pictures. We've got the foundation picture. I'm complaining my spiritual life is weak because of this, this, and this. Well, you're describing the wrong foundation. You're attached to these other things. You're attaching yourself to your physical health. I'm good if my physical health is good. I'm good if my job is good, my family's good. I'm good if all of these things are good. And so we attach to these other things. And we weaken what's our true foundation. We weaken our attachment to our true vine. And what's slipping in there is not God's will, but God's will plus my will. By God's will, you are in Messiah. By God's will, Paul was an apostle. And he's so firm in that. He's so secure in that. There's just no doubt in that. Which is why he stands firm no matter what else is going on. He's beaten, he's whipped. The 40 lashes minus 1. From what I've heard, that sometimes killed people. He was stoned and left for dead. He was shipwrecked. In 2 Corinthians, he goes through this whole list of the different things he's been through. He's in a Roman prison. He's a Roman citizen. He's in a Roman prison, and those Roman prisons are not like what you go to visit nowadays, Kevin. There was no air conditioning. It was gross. It was gross. And from prison, he's writing to other people about being joyful. Don't let your joy diminish. Don't let your joy diminish. How is it that one man in a Roman prison can be writing to those who are free and on the outside about being joyful? Because Paul understands, by the will of God, this is who I am. I have received fully the will of God for my life. I have not fought it. I have not tried to add on to the foundation. There's only one foundation. It's Messiah. I am attached to the one true vine. There are no other vines of life for me. It's in Messiah and in Messiah alone. And this is the will of God. It's not that I earned it. It's that I received it. We have to get past... To me today, worship was wonderful. Now, how can I go from, like I said earlier, I had to apologize to some people. Something came out of my mouth that revealed something that wasn't quite right in my heart. How can I go from that to worshiping immediately. Isn't there a time of penance? Should I go around kicking ground? Boy, I guess I'm just a dirty old rotten Josh today, and just not spiritual, just not feeling it. I could do that. Or I could say, no, it's not by my will that I'm spiritual. It's by God's will that I'm spiritual, and I just have to receive it. And so recovery time can be like that. It can be absolutely like that. And when it's not like that, there's a couple things that could be slipping in there. One of those things could be a little bit of pride. I did so well this week. Every day I was careful with my words, and I read my Bible, and I prayed, and then I ruined it. As if all the other stuff was me building up my spirituality, and then I ruined it, and so I have to go back and I have to rebuild from the ground up again. That's actually a bit of pride. I'm being nice. It's not a bit of pride. It's pride. My spiritual activities have brought me to this place, and then wait, Josh, there's something in your heart that's not quite right. All of a sudden, bam, we fall. Sometimes that's the issue. A lot of times, more often than we would like to admit, the issue is the way other people see us. Well, I built up a certain aura, okay? And people see me in a certain way, and then they just saw me fail. They're going to think I'm a hypocrite if I'm there worshiping God and giving words and giving testimonies and things like that. They're going to see me as a hypocrite. We have to stop caring what others think. You are not here to please me or to please anybody else. You're here to serve the Lord, love the Lord, and the Lord. You're to do God's will. You are to be God's will. You are to be in Messiah. You are to have no other identity. No other identity. And slipping up does not take that identity from you, because it wasn't by your will, it was by God's will. It's still God's will. You slip up, it is still God's will for you to be a man or a woman of God. It is still God's will. And I think we get a very powerful glimpse at this at Yeshua's resurrection. Okay? I've mentioned this before. He rises from the dead after being rejected by his disciples, and they flee, they scatter. Peter denied him. And what does he call them after he's resurrected? Right? He says to the women, go tell my brothers that I'll meet them in Galilee. They're his brothers. Why are they his brothers? Because they stuck through him through thick and thin? They're his brothers because it's his will that they are his brothers. Go tell my brothers. It's my will. God's saying it is my will that you are in Messiah, that you are receiving these blessings. Verse 3. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Yeshua the Messiah, who has blessed us in Messiah with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places. If your mind's not in the heavenly places, you're not going to see the blessings. Right? Colossians chapter 3 talks about this. If then you have been raised with Messiah, okay? It's like get a reality check here. You've been raised with Messiah. Seek the things that are above, where Messiah is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth, for you have died and your life is hidden with Messiah in God. Wow. When Messiah, who is your life, appears, then you will also appear with him in glory. Set your mind on things that are above. If your mind is on the things of the earth, none of this stuff registers as a blessing to you. I'm forgiven. Okay, big deal. I'm looking for the good stuff. Okay, lavished wisdom, insight. Okay, that's fine. I'm looking for the money. I'm looking for the sex and the comfort and maybe the TV remote. Where's that blessing? I guess I need to read the next chapter. And you keep looking. Where's the real blessings? Where's the money? Where's the car? Where's the girlfriend or the boyfriend? Where's the comfort? And it's not here. And so to understand these as blessings, you have to set your mind on the things that are above, not on the things that are on earth. And then you start to get goosebumps, and just the fullness of the Spirit come upon you when you read, my sins have been forgiven. When your mind is there, my mind is on you, God. I want to be you. I'm with you. I'm hungering and thirsting after you. I love you, God. And your mind is there. And then you read, hey, your sins are forgiven. And he's lavished on you every spiritual blessing. He's made you holy. He's made you blameless. Then all of a sudden, man, it's like life transforming. Get your mind there, right? Let the Spirit, like I said earlier, it's the will of God. Let God get your mind there on the heavenly places. Set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth, because you have died. You've died to those other things. And your life is now hidden with Messiah in God. And you start to see spirituality as your reality, not as a part of your bigger picture called life. Here's my life, let me balance it out. Let's say I've got physical health and financial health and familial health and spiritual health. But it doesn't say that. It doesn't say in Messiah and in your family. It doesn't say in Messiah and in your job. It says all of your life is in Messiah. So I'm taking this class called Pastoral Care to help, do things like counseling others and things like that. And they talk about triangulation, okay? That in every issue, at least according to this theory, if you disagree with it, I haven't thought about it a whole lot, but the triangulation, in every issue, there's three parts. Okay, that may or may not be true. It seems to make sense to me. But it's at least true a lot of the times. There's three parts. Okay? There's three parts. In a family, it's the mom, the dad, and the children sometimes. And the mom and dad are having trouble because they're disagreeing about how to raise the children. Right? Or it's the mom and the dad and the finances. I think we've all been through that, right? Or it could be any number of things. Maybe it's a congregational issue, right? So it's this congregant and this congregant over what color to paint the walls, right? Or this congregant and this congregant over how traditional to be. So this triangulation idea, three parts, okay? So let's take husband and wife. Husband and wife having issues, and let's say that the third part of that triangle is God. Okay? Your life has to be so in Messiah that there is a life for you apart from your spouse. That you don't define your life by the spouse. Or maybe it's parents and children. Okay? And God is the third part of that triangle. You have to break the triangle for a time, because it's an unhealthy connection. You break the triangle so that it's just a line. It's just you and God. It's just you in Messiah. It's you being transformed in His presence. And then you get back in the triangle and everything is different. There were times where my wife and I were going at each other, and she would say to me, "Josh, you just need to go for a walk." And often I would. All right, fine. I'll go for a walk. I'll pray to God. I come back after getting in touch with God, and I'm treating her totally differently. we have to break out of all the triangles. And it's got to be you and God. And then you are then loving others. God is loving others through you. You are transformed. You are in Messiah. You have received His spiritual blessings. Your mind is set on the things above, not on the things of earth. There's no way to do that and then to continue in our strife and our arguments. And some of you may be thinking I'm preaching to you this morning. I'm not. I'm preaching to all of us. Right? This is a human thing. Okay? We've got to break the triangles. Connect with God one-on-one. Say, my life, and I've seen this, and I've seen it in believing circles, and it's unhealthy. This idea that of husband and wife being so tied in with each other that there's no separation of the parts there. What does Paul say in 1 Corinthians? He says, those who are not married should live as if they're married to the Lord. And those who are married should live as if they're unmarried. What does he mean by that? If you're married, live as if you're unmarried. He means that your life is not, if you are so enmeshed, husbands and wives, and I've seen it with parents and children, usually moms and children, sometimes dads, so enmeshed that it becomes part of your identity. If you can't imagine what your life is going to be like when your children move out of the house, what is my life going to be like? You're too enmeshed. If you can't imagine, God forbid, but you can't imagine how could I ever go on if God were to take my spouse from me. It's too enmeshed. Your life is in Messiah and in Messiah alone. And this doesn't mean that we love others less. I talked about this last week. I think it was last week. But it doesn't mean we love others less. In fact, we love them more. Because when you're enmeshed with them, what it means is you're getting your identity from them, and it becomes a selfish focus. I need this from you, and I need that from you because you are helping form my identity. And when you fail at that, then there's something horribly wrong with you because I don't feel good. How about we focus in on the Lord? My life is in the Lord. It doesn't say in your spouse and in Messiah. It just says in your Messiah. Yeshua says, if you love father or mother or children more than me, you're not worthy of me. We're called to an exclusive connecting with the vine. We're called to have one foundation. And all of this is not by our will, but by the will of God, who says, this is the life I want to give you in Messiah. You have to lose the other foundations. You have to lose your attachment to every other vine. You have to be in Messiah, because when you're in Messiah, you're in God. You're made right. You are holy. You are blameless. You have your firm identity so that you can withstand persecution in difficult times. The only reason we fail, I'm going to say this categorically, even though it's just coming to me now. I haven't thought about it. I think this is of the Lord. The only reason we fail is multiple foundations, multiple vines, multiple attachments, when in ways that our attachment should be to God and God alone. I love my wife. In fact, I love my wife now more than I ever have. I love my wife more than the day I married her. But she's not my life. She used to be my life, at least in a certain sense, where if she's having a bad day, I'm having a bad day. That's not love, that's neediness. Right? We get that mixed up. Okay? I need you like the air I breathe. We think it's love. It's not love, it's self-centeredness. I need you, give me what I need. Rather than, I am so firm in God's will in my life, what He's called me to be. And by what He's called me to be, our mind should not immediately go to, apostle, teacher, preacher, musician. It's the son or daughter part that we read. In Him we are adopted, right? I am so firm in who I am as an adopted son. I am so firm in who I am as an adopted daughter. I am in Messiah. It's like I'm swimming at the deep end of the pool under the water. There's just nothing but water. There's just nothing but Messiah. My life is just nothing but Messiah. And then in that, you're able to break the neediness bonds, the neediness connections with your job, your need for affirmation from others, your whatever. Just connecting to the vine alone. We do this because it's the will of God. We just allow His will to take place. Yes, Lord, mold me. Yes, Lord, shape me. Yes, Lord, I will ask forgiveness and I will not go around kicking myself. I'll just receive your forgiveness. Yes, Lord, I will just receive your love. Lord, you want to speak through me? I will just receive it. Receive it, receive it. Because I'm in Messiah and in no other. And then, man, when I approach life like that, I love everybody more. I love my wife more. Even if she were to mess up, which we all do from time to time, but she's a wonderful wife. She's a genuine woman of God. Cares deeply about people and the things of the Lord. But even if she were to mess up, I'd still love her no less. My students that I always talk about, because that's a big part of my life, I love them. I told them first period yesterday, I said, you guys know I love teaching you, right? And they get a sense of it. I used to not be able to do that unless I was just trying to force it out. All right, God says to love. Let me try to love out of my will. No, Lord, your will is for me to love them. I'm receiving that. Man, I love these kids. Even the ones that are misbehaving. Even the ones that I used to label, oh, they're just a problem child. No, you love. So you have to break the attachments. You have to have one foundation, one vine. You're in Messiah. You're in Messiah alone. And it's a unique inness. You're not in Messiah the way you are in anything else. You're drowning in Messiah because this is the will of God. Our Father in heaven, we receive your will for our lives, which is to establish our identity in Messiah as an adopted son or daughter, fully immersed in Messiah, receiving the spiritual blessings, connecting with you in a way that is reserved for you alone, so that we can then connect with others out of love and not out of need. Lord, I thank you for setting me in here in the midst of tzaddikim, in the midst of holy ones. I pray that each one be fully immersed in Messiah as we allow the Father to prune us and to take away every other attachment that we have, so that we are in love with you. We wake up in love with you. We go to sleep in love with you. We go throughout the day in love with you. We have dreams, Lord God, that reveal the love in our hearts for you. Lord, be our all in all, be our everything, because this is your will, and we receive it in Yeshua's name.